Kate Milifalcha. Welcome to Psychics and Psychos. I'm Irish Granny Helen. This is my partner in crime, Denise Siegel. Hi.
Hello. Hello.
And I'm so glad we're back doing this. I made excuses for you. I recorded some of the background. It took two videos, and I made your apologies. I don't want people to think that there's any falling out or anything.
No,
you have a life.
Well, yeah, and it's just been the last 3 months have been one thing after the other, as you know, like broke my foot, broke my ankle, had all kinds of health problems, and dizzy, vertigo, and then pneumonia. It's been crazy, but I'm getting better now. I'm so better.
I think you are like the canary in the coal mine for our greater culture. You're showing the symptom, you know what I mean? You're responding to the energy. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, so here we are back together again. We've mended fences now. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do our psychic part. I talked about the psycho part.
Right. We're just I made a real, I mean, I know only the very, and I like to do it this way astrologically, just know very little about anything about the case. I mean, I know enough, like I've watched the news. Like I saw that he was, basically indicted, wasn't he? I mean, he confessed.
He pled guilty.
He pled guilty, right.
He took a plea because he was afraid of the death penalty. They say, he didn't want his family to testify.
No,
he was afraid of the death penalty.
Yeah. And so I know about the murders from the news, That's about it. So I didn't go deep into it, which I prefer to do. And then you go deep into it and tell me if I'm right or not. Yeah.
Well, if I can remember, because it happened before yesterday. So this is an example. I talked all about the things that I collated. So I read this book and I forgot to show it yesterday. So here it is today.
Okay. And
this book was written really quickly after he was identified.
Yes.
So he had not gone through the whole legal thing yet. At least I don't think so. It's been so long since I read it.
Probably not. It was relatively recent that he went through that. Wasn't it the summer of this year or the spring maybe?
I don't know, but this was written closer to the time of the actual killing.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
That was almost 3 years ago. In fact, November 13th is the anniversary.
Wow. That's interesting because he's got all this Scorpio on his chart. But anyway.
Well, yeah, it was born November 21st, right?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Okay, we'll get to it. So I want to be sure that people understand that all of the information that I collated was from this book, from an excellent documentary that's on, I don't know, YouTube, I don't know, one of those places. It's the documentary that's multiple episodes and that talks with family members.
Oh, I think I know the one. I saw part of it.
Really good. There's one that's not so good, And
maybe I watched the bad one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe I watched the bad one because I only sat through about 20 minutes of it. I'm like, this is not.
No, there's a really good one where they interview in depth the parents, the friends.
Oh, I'd like to see that. What's the name of that one?
Well, I don't remember. The Idaho Murders.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, you'll find it. And then also there are a number of resources on YouTube. There's a resident psychiatric doctor who has a YouTube channel, and he talks about different bizarre mental things, with different cases. He's the one who came up with this whole Raskolnikov theory from Dostoevsky. He gets very literary. I love his channel. And there are a couple of others. There was a woman doctor who's a forensic psychiatrist, and she talks about it. She actually interviewed him, and his family.
I'm sure he has a very high score on the hair psychopathy checklist.
No one's ever seen a higher score. He aced it. It was a beautiful test.
Did he get 40? Did he get 40 out of 40?
I'm quoting somebody.
I know. But I would not be surprised if he did not get like a really high psychopathy.
Yeah. Well, he is very smart. He studied. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So today we're going to look at his astrological chart, his tarot cards maybe for other people related to him. So Denise, take it away.
Okay. Do you want me to share? Can I share my screen or should I just?
Oh, yeah. I don't want to look at myself. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll share my screen. Share screen. Share screen. Okay. If I can find it in here. Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. Why doesn't it come up like that? Okay. For fuck's sake. Okay. Sorry, I've never done it on this thing before.
It's a professional term.
I have never tried to share my screen on your thing before. Let's see if I can try to do that. This is kind of kooky. Well, maybe I won't share my screen because I don't know why, but it's only wanting me to share stuff that's on the internet, which I don't want to do. So let's see if I can share screen. Share screen.
People do it all the time. So
I know. I'm sure you can, but I've never tried to do it. I mean, I do it all the time on my other on Zoom, but this does not have the option of sharing something that's not on the internet. Let's see.
It does. You have to go to the thing on the side, and I'm not good at it. But you know what my grandmother always said, Denise? A poor workman blames his tools.
I'm not going to bother with it. I'll just talk about it.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll just talk about it, and I mean, I can post it on my Substack, and you can look at his chart. So he has. I mean, if you were going to tell me, like, pick some, like, make a chart for a really clear psychopath, like the most obvious that you can think of, it would be Bryan Kohberger. Okay.
So what does that look like when you talk
that?
About
I mean, he has the most insane. He's got a Sun Pluto conjunction that is within 1 degree with Jupiter on it in Scorpio, Mercury conjunct the node and Venus. Okay, so he's got this massive Scorpio stellium with Pluto wedged in there and Jupiter, which exaggerates this, and the North Node, which is karmic and tells us that this is not his first rodeo, man. This guy has been obsessed probably with power and control since before he was born. I mean, he comes in with this and wanting to control, especially women with that Venus conjunction. And he's obsessive, like really obsessive. And he's got a Mars square, which is one of the rulers of his, besides the Pluto and Scorpio, and they square. So he is constantly under tension to control, and he is just a full-on creep. I mean, this man has probably had many lifetimes, destructive. This, to me, he comes in with this. So this has probably nothing to do with his childhood and is almost entirely some kind of past life karmic thing. Because he also has a Uranus, Neptune, sextile to all of this. He's dark. He's got a dark heart. Saturn trines his moon. That's a whole thing. He's got the moon in Cancer and Saturn is so his parents, I mean, and he's got a grand water trine. So once he gets locked into something, he cannot let go of it.
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, we should explain that you don't know anything about his background. You haven't done any of the research, and you haven't watched the videos I made last night.
No, I have not.
Having said that, he was diagnosed with OCD.
That makes sense.
There is a family history, like generationally, of crime.
Oh, wow. That makes sense too. Because it's biochemical. And also he's born into this family. He's a psychopath by birth. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not a sociopath. He's a psychopath for sure.
Well, it was interesting because there's a lot of discussion about that. Which is which, which is he? And they point to his relationship with his parents as maybe causative. But what you're saying, and I can equally buy this, is that his relationship to his parents is reflective of what's really innate in him.
He doesn't have, look, the moon in Cancer is one of the best placements you can have. Saturn in Pisces is a very passive father,
Oh, that's so true. Oh my God, that is exactly true.
And they're trining each other. So the parents get along, and the trines his Venus. So his parents are not the problem. They feed into maybe they're too supportive. They feed into him. They're maybe too passive in how to deal with him, but they may exaggerate the problem because they really don't know they don't understand him. All this stuff is in the 12th house. They might have, just try to support him and maybe
let me tell you about his father. His father has said things to officials like, when I got into the car with him to drive him home from Washington to Pennsylvania for Christmas after the murders, he didn't know that his son had committed the murders. He said, I was never sure which Bryan I would be dealing with. And he talked a couple of times about a conflict that they would have, what road to take, what route to follow. And he always just, okay, do whatever you want.
Whatever
Bryan,
you want. Right. Saturn and Pisces.
Right.
That is
his mother
weak.
babied him.
And his mother babied him. That's right. The moon in Cancer. I mean, the moon in Cancer is a very, that's the best placement you can have.
Best in the sense of what?
In terms of so the ruler of the moon is Cancer. So it's in its strongest placement. So the mom, I mean, it's in the 8th house. He may not have fully understood his mother. His mother might have been sort of, he might not have fully gotten her, but she comes as a total support to him. I mean, she supports him completely. And so does the dad. So their passivity feeds into his obsessiveness, but they're not the problem. He's the fucking problem. He was born a monster. I mean, to be honest, I mean, he's obsessed with power and control, and he's fully obsessive, and it's focused on controlling women and relationships. And I can understand why he studies psychology, because all this Scorpio and the Pluto Sun conjunction, he wants to understand how other people tick. But with the node as embedded in all of this Scorpio, I mean, this is a karmic past life thing. I mean, this is a really weird thing to say, but he wants to find his power by controlling and destroying other people.
It's interesting that you would characterize him as a monster, because I talked a little bit about the victims, and in that context, I was making the point that they were just ordinary kids doing what ordinary college kids did, going about. They were all at home in bed asleep, minding their own beeswax. And how I defined the situation was they had the misfortune to encounter a monster. I'm so excited you called him a monster.
But he is a monster, and you know what? His parents probably didn't. Nobody. I mean, in his solar chart, everything's in the 12th house. So they probably didn't understand how disturbed he really was. Like you said, he was probably the OCD. Okay, yeah, he's obsessive, he's controlling. And obviously, if it's your kid and the moon is in Cancer, the Saturn's in Pisces, they see him in a more benevolent, benign kind of way, So, and they accidentally probably fed into his obsessiveness, not on purpose, but because they're trying to be supportive parents to this guy, that they don't understand how dark he is and how sick he is.
Way over the top. His father, okay, this guy's 28 years old. Let's put this in perspective. He's not a kid. He's 28 years old. His father helps him to go to college for his PhD program in Washington State. His father, as they're moving his stuff into an apartment, goes to a neighbor in the apartment building and says, this is my son, and he's never been away from home before, and he's going to be lonely. I'm really worried about him. Will you, befriend him, keep an eye on him for me? I'm like, oh my God. And his mother went on Facebook after he left. I've been crying for days. And
that's what I'm saying. His parents are so hooked into him, and they make this grand trine to the Venus, and basically they are part of the problem, in that not because they're bad, but because they're too permissive and too hooked into him and too supportive.
Codependent. It's codependent on steroids. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, and that's not their, I mean, I don't want to blame his parents, because truly he comes in with so much shit around that node that you could have put him in any fucking house anywhere in the world. I mean, he would still have this problem. I mean, his soul is controlling.
Yeah.
He's got all this karmic shit. I mean, if you were to ask me to make a serial killer chart, it would be like, oh, this is like, you would not doubt this. I mean, there's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in Scorpio around his north node in Scorpio, meaning, so his whole purpose in life, even incarnating, was to destroy, to control, and he could have used it in a positive way, by going and becoming a psychologist and a therapist or whatever.
It was real smart.
And worked out his, psychological problems through helping other people to transform. But he's so obsessive, and he's so, like, he's got this spiral of, he can't hook out of it. He doesn't have any squares out of that trine, meaning he's got all of this emotional energy that he doesn't know how to control, and he doesn't know how to use. And so that Mars square Jupiter, the only outlet for this was to sort of, and Pluto and Sun, was to try to control other people. And so I think he was so obsessed probably with death and with controlling women and controlling other people that he probably became obsessed with the idea of killing people at a very young age. Maybe he didn't.
Well, let me ask you something.
Probably people didn't know it was hidden, but he probably had fantasies about this for
he had a very problematic childhood. He was extremely overweight, awkward socially, worried,
that's
grade school, and hated
that's all that
girls
because
the girls picked on him. Is his story?
Yeah,
that's his
that
version.
makes sense.
He became a heroin addict in his early teens.
Oh, let me think.
Lost 100 pounds and became Mr. Look at me, I'm beautiful and I'm so great because I did this. Look what I could accomplish.
I've seen pictures of him. He's not beautiful. He's a very unattractive looking dude.
He became arrogant and
that's
a blowhard, right?
Yeah, right.
And he became a vegan, but he became one of those vegans that drives everybody crazy. I know there are a lot of them in my family, right? I can't use those pans. Meat has been in those pans in the past. That kind of thing. I have a question for you. I'm very curious. They really don't know. He's so smart and so good at the digital thing that he scrubbed everything, and they've had experts trying very hard to find information. They don't know how he focused on this house. They think he may have seen one of the girls was a waitress at a vegan restaurant in town, and they think he may have seen her and she ignored him or blew him off, but he was obsessed with Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was
I was going to say his chart is like it's like Ted Bundy's, only Ted had it all around a bunch of Sag. So Ted was much more charming, much more ADHD-ish, much more all over the place, more active. He's much more brooding, this character, Bryan Kohberger. But I could see where, he probably really liked that. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't the only, I'm sure Bundy wasn't the only serial killer he was.
No, he liked Danny Rowling. Do you remember Danny Rowling in Florida, the one who broke into the apartment of the college students, and when they finally discovered there had been a crime, their heads were sitting on a bookcase? You don't remember that?
No.
Yeah. He was living in the Everglades in the woods and had an encampment. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? What day did he murder the kids? What was the day?
13th, November.
What year, though? What year was it?
2022.
That's what I thought, because I'm looking at his natal chart, and you know what? He had Uranus going over the nodes. He had Uranus and Taurus was on his south node, opposing all of those planets in Scorpio, especially Mercury. So that is probably why he acted out, and on that day he could no longer stop the compulsion, and he probably, that Uranus kind of implies that he may have been stalking them for a while, but it might have been more spontaneous than the cops really think. Like it may have been.
They know that he'd been, that they could track with his cell phone. They could track his car, had been circling like a shark in that neighborhood for a couple months.
Yeah, but that night, that was probably more spontaneous. He just finally acted on it.
Well, they know that he knew know that the house was full of young women. And they
Right.
think it was intentional to copy. It was an homage to Bundy's attack on the sorority house.
Right, right, right. Yeah. But there was a boy there, a man there, and he obviously didn't know that.
He didn't know. It was the boyfriend,
right.
One of the victims.
And that tells you he was surprised. That's the Uranus opposition. And it was more bungled than he, than he may have planned, because that's the Uranus. He probably acted out like, I got to do it now. And it was sort of impulsive a little bit, even though he isn't impulsive by nature, but that Uranus opposition, all that obsessing and stalking them, that's all that Scorpio, and kind of looking at what was going on. He probably felt the urge so strongly that night. He just fucking went for it. You know what I mean? Mars was
they think he had targeted one young woman, and she and her best friend from junior high had gone all through school together, went to college together, and she was one more semester to go. She was a senior. This is Maddie Mogan.
Right.
Her best friend was Kaylee Gonsalves. Kaylee was very ambitious, and she got everything done a semester early, and she actually was getting her degree in December. And so she was done. She had no more classes. She was done. And so she had left. She'd moved out of the house, gone back home to Coeur d'Alene, gotten a really great beginner job, but she had a month before she started. So she bought a new car, and she planned a month of vacation. She was going to go to Europe. But before she left for Europe, she decided to come back to the school one more weekend. It was a big football weekend, and spend the weekend with her best friend to show off her car. So he thought she had moved out. He thought the woman that they think he targeted was upstairs alone. And he didn't realize that the other girl brought her boyfriend home that night.
Right. So, there's a lot of mistakes with that Uranus opposition. But the other thing is
he was interrupted.
Right, exactly. And there's so many things going on in his chart that made him activated that night. There's Mars retrograde, which is not good. In conjuncting his sun, he's got a Yod as well happening, and Jupiter trine and Neptune trine his sun, Pluto. There's all of these activating things that made him feel like he had to do it then, which is why thank God, why he fucked it up. You know what I mean? He kind of there's an impulsiveness about this, that even though he is meticulous probably, and he was studied them, and he was very much a stalker.
He thought he was,
He thought he was. He's not really, though. I mean, he fucked up because he leapt in before really knowing what he was getting into, which thank God. And the nodes, it's interesting, the transiting nodes were right in, it was karmic. They were right on they were in reverse return with the sun and Mercury and Venus all on his stuff. So he got caught because he acted out this bullshit, and then he instantly got caught because he's not supposed to do this. You know what I mean? He's supposed to break that cycle, and bang, he fucked up. He got caught almost immediately. He probably had, it was total karma that he ended up.
When the police had him under surveillance, they looked at all the CCTV cameras from the security cameras in the neighborhood, and they saw this car, and they were able to identify the model and make, but not the year. They were a little bit off on the year. And the college cops, the security cops on campus in Washington, because these two colleges, they sort of straddled the border, the University of Idaho, the University of Washington, Western Washington University.
Right, they're close together, yeah.
Like sister schools, basically.
Right.
And they traced this. There's a car here on campus in Washington, in Pullman, that matches, but the year's different, so maybe it's not right. But they were able to get the DNA off the sheath, which her body was lying on, so he missed that. And when they got the DNA, they had no match. So they thought, let's do reverse DNA, genetic genealogy. And sure enough, they connected it to his father's family.
Right.
And so they realized, oh, this family in Pennsylvania, this is related. So they followed him. The FBI, they had a team of 40 FBI agents and an
Wow.
airplane, and they followed him driving with his father from
Oh,
school
that's
at
right.
Christmas break,
And
right?
then he got pulled over, didn't he?
Well,
Was that part of it?
that was a weird coincidence. The state of Indiana was doing drug interdiction, and they were pulling over every car that was out of state license plate, because I guess it's a pathway for drugs.
It was, yeah.
And
Such a
so-
karma. There's so much karmic stuff. Like he did not get away with it very long. I mean, they were on him really pretty quickly, weren't they?
He got pulled over
Right.
twice in 10 minutes.
That's insane.
And what he didn't know was there was an FBI airplane following him and a bunch of FBI agents in cars who were freaking out because they didn't know why Indiana State was pulling him over. So he gets home, and there's this testimony, information from his sister, who, by the way, is a licensed psychologist.
Wow.
And his sister watched him. She knew something was wrong. She didn't do 2 + 2, I don't think, but she knew something was up because she found him, unbeknownst to him, she saw him hiding his personal garbage in Ziploc bags and putting it in the neighbor's trash can and cleaning out his car. And she thought, well, this is too weird. There's something weird going on. When the FBI broke into the house at 1:30 in the morning, he was in the kitchen in latex gloves, Ziploc bagging his belongings.
Wow.
Trash. Yeah.
Wow. Well, they were onto him fast. I mean, he didn't get, I mean, how fast they busted him is kind of amazing, really. I mean, when you consider how many other times things like this have happened, and you can see that he was going to get busted immediately because he made a bunch of mistakes, really, looking at this. He wasn't in, he acted kind of impulsively, and he had these nodal returns. It's like, the universe is like, nobody, you're not going to do this again. Like he was too impatient. He felt the urge too much. It wasn't so
there was a reason. There was a reason for that.
Why?
He was under a particular kind of stress. So he's been accepted into the PhD program in forensic psychology, criminal justice, something like that.
Right.
You know who his mentor was in his master's program at DeSales University? Dr. Catherine Ramsland, the expert
that's right.
on
You told me that.
serial killers.
Well, he probably did that, but he probably wanted to. I mean, to me, he probably went to school like Ted Bundy did on some level to kind of be a better serial killer.
That's right. Yeah. And to prove that he could be better at it than the experts who were teaching him. So he gets to Pullman, Washington, and the way that a PhD program works, usually you don't have to pay to be a PhD student. They take it out in labor. So they make him a TA. He's assigned a professor who's his mentor. So he has to teach all these huge beginning classes, with hundreds of freshman students, and correct all the papers and give the tests. And it's labor intensive. And he was socially just incapable, right? And he hated women. So he was going out of his way to belittle and ridicule and marginalize the women. And so the school starts getting complaint after complaint after complaint. This guy's following us. This guy's stalking us. This guy is intimidating us. He would stand in the doorway and block the door and then stare at the girl who worked in the completely. And one of the professors, who was a woman and an expert in forensic psychology, went to the college people in the psychology department and said, we have to get rid of this guy. He is smart enough. We inevitably are going to have to give him his PhD if he stays here. He is dangerous. He's the guy we're going to hear about in a few years who's done something awful. He's dangerous. She was prescient,
Right. Well, she probably could feel it coming from him.
Yeah. And his mentor, professor, real nice guy, real easygoing older man, bent over backwards, but did the right thing, started documenting everything. Every time Kohberger came in and argued with him and acted superior, and their comment later was, academics are odd. It's not unusual to have odd people getting their PhDs. We're very accepting of eccentricities. This guy didn't understand that he was being, this is his first semester as a PhD student, he's being evaluated and judged, and he's getting into arrogant fights with the head of the department.
Yeah, he's from Mars and Leo. Yeah, he is arrogant. Yeah.
So after much conflict,
and entitled. Yeah.
They had written a letter telling him he was fired as a TA, which means now you have to pay for your program and you don't have a mentor. That puts an end to PhD. So he had not received that letter because he left for Christmas break before it arrived in the mail. And he's in the car with his father driving home to Pennsylvania, telling his father quite arrogantly, oh, you know, the school's harassing me. They just don't like me. And I'm going to win because they'll have a hearing and they're just going to have to back down. And he had no idea. So you can't blame his loss of his position for what he did, but you can point to his increasing animosity and discord and misogyny is all part of the larger problem with him. Let's I have a question for you. I don't know the answer to this. Nobody does.
Was he killed again? Yeah.
Yes. Did he kill before?
That's what I was just looking at. I think
you read my mind, Denise.
Well, there's a couple places here where I think he might have, at least if he didn't do it, he would have come close to trying to do it. But there's a couple of things I see where I don't know why, but this is just a psychic thing. Maybe a younger girl earlier on, like in his early 20s, there's some bad aspects that might have triggered him to do something like what he did.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that maybe it was a young girl. Maybe he was in his early 20s. Maybe she was 12, 13. This is just psychic. That he might have hurt or maybe killed. I don't know for sure, but I definitely get that feeling. And then there's another period right as he's ramping up to do these murders with these college girls. You see a bunch of really negative aspects in his and really ramping up of his obsessiveness and all that. So the behavior that you're describing, where he's intimidating these girls, these women. I mean, the thing I get a feeling about with him is that he's also kind of a chicken shit too. You know what I'm saying? You know, as much as he's upset with controlling other people, he's also, I get the feeling that he would never have gone in and tried to abduct someone off the street unless they were a little young, like a little kid. Like I don't see him, you know, like Ted Bundy, who would have abducted some young woman off the street and then killed her and confronted her face to face.
Not enough control, not enough predictable control. He needs to plan it all. Yeah.
Right. So it seems like to me, in the earlier time, in the like 21, something might have happened when he was in his early 20s with a young girl. I don't know if he killed her. Maybe he just attempted to try to rape her or something.
Well, there was an incident in 2015. He went on.
That's what I was looking at. That's the exact year. That is the exact fucking year.
Okay, so he went out with this girl, and she was getting the icks.
That is exactly what I.
Yeah.
I wish I could say it.
He insisted on walking her home, and later on, she said, "You know, women do this. Young women do this. I didn't want to get into a fight with him. I just, you know, I didn't want to be that bitch, you know. So I agreed to let him walk me home. Then he manipulated his way into her apartment. And then he started, this is weird. Then he started to tickle her and wouldn't stop. And she was getting panicked. So she ran into the bathroom, locked herself in the bathroom, and pretended to puke. And she stayed in the bathroom pretending to puke until he got sick of waiting for her, and he left.
Wow.
And she locked herself in. And he texted her on his way home and told her that she had great childbearing hips.
Wow.
Now there's a compliment you don't get every day, Denise.
That's a very weird compliment.
Oh my God. Compliment. Oh my God.
It's a very
so
weird
bizarre.
thing.
Very bizarre.
Well, maybe that's because that urge, and that's what I'm saying. It's like he's not like Ted Bundy, who's very confident,
Suave. Yeah.
and suave. This guy is kind of a douche. You know what I mean? And you know immediately that he's a douche.
Oh yeah.
You can feel that he's smarmy. He's got all that stuff in the 12th. You know that there's something weird about him, and you don't really know what it is. So he's not very. You don't naturally trust him with all that 12th house stuff. So from looking at the chart, I was looking at times where he might have been triggered, and that was one of them, 2015, where he was probably going to try to kill that girl.
Yeah, in his high school days, he was described as having no social
it's awkward.
He would walk up to complete strange girls in the hallway of the high school and invade their personal space, and then talk to them like he was going to take them out, and they didn't even know who he was. He was universally described as creepy.
Yeah, creepy. Yeah.
Creepy.
Oh yeah, he's creepy. I'm wondering, the girl that he was doing that to, how old was she compared to him? Was she younger than him?
I don't think it even said, but this is 2015, so he was in college.
His early 20s. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
so she was probably a fellow student.
Maybe. Yeah.
So within a few years, probably. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the time frame that I was looking at. Yeah.
It said that when he was in his PhD program, because he was only there a couple of months before everything went south,
right.
He went on a charm offensive with the other PhD students because he thought they were more his intellectual equal, but he was still the smartest. He always had to win every argument. He had to dominate the classroom conversation.
Well, he's very controlling, extraordinarily
grandiose, yeah,
and grandiose with the Mars.
And I wanted to point out, since you didn't get his background. His grandfather and great uncle were both in trouble for felonies, larceny, car theft, and gambling and fraud. And he himself was turned in to the police by his father in his late teens for stealing a car.
Okay. That makes sense.
So what they did was they arrested
That was the other time. That was the other period I was just looking at, was when he's about 19. Yeah.
Criminally versatile, right?
Yeah. He's a psychopath. I really think he's born psychopath. You can argue whether someone comes in. I personally think the way it works with astrology and I know, psychology, your parents play a role for sure, but I think you come in with who you are, and it imprints your spirit, your soul imprints, and the chart kind of tells you the soul that's coming in and the energy that it's imbuing into that physical body. So he came in with all this darkness. He's a very dark character, very much obsessive, controlling, arrogant person who wants to dominate others and control them, especially women, with that Venus nodal thing. So his parents really have nothing to do with that, but he needed probably a vehicle. Like, maybe even if he didn't have that in his family, he might have had these tendencies. But having a family member, genetic psychopathy, predisposition is not uncommon too, because that's also karmic, the family that you're born into to some degree, especially if you have his chart. Everything is karmic.
Well, that explains a lot. Go ahead.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I when I looked at it, I was just like, I can't even believe, like, he is like a class. Like, if you're going to just show somebody a psychopath chart, you will go, oh, he's total psychopath. The fact that he got caught so quickly, I don't know, is that part of how resourceful our system is now with all the, DNA?
Well, technology plays a huge part.
I mean, can you really even get away with being a serial killer anymore? Probably not.
I don't know. I mean, I think you would have to be far cleverer than he was. For example, on the night of the murder, he headed out, as he always did, in his car in the middle of the night. This all happened after 4:00 in the morning. He turned off his phone at a certain point in the road, And then later, when it was all done, turned his phone back on. And you
Right.
know, the
That's
absence of technological information is
right.
as
So
yeah, it's much of
yeah,
a clue as the presence of it. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. He thought he was being smart. I mean, I'm wondering too, because I don't know if you've seen the sort of statistics on this, but now in the last 20 years or so, there's more of a predominance of people who shoot a bunch of people at one time
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than
Yeah. Yeah.
one by one. You know, serial killing is kind of not as predominant as spree killers are now.
Yeah.
And it could have something to do with technology, that they know they're going to get caught, right? And they can't get
Well, there's
away
a
with
lot of overlap in the psychological motivation.
Yeah.
He talked a lot in the resources that I accessed about his potential for being an incel.
Oh yeah, he's
And
totally.
one of his heroes was that Elliot, you know, the guy in Santa Barbara, UCSB, who made the videos in his car, Elliot Rogers, before he shot. Okay, so he was a rich kid, went to college at UCSB, and was very active on the incel internet, you know, and forums. And he recorded himself talking about his insanity in his car, and then he went and did a mass murder on campus, partly near a sorority and partly near a neighborhood.
Oh my God, I remember that. It was on
Isla Vista. Yeah.
Was he Asian kid? Or was that a different one?
No, I don't think he was, unless
maybe I was just remembering.
Maybe it was in his background. I don't know. I didn't.
Or maybe it was if I was just watching an Asian kid who knew him interviewed on.
There was, yes, there was.
Yeah.
He was kind of Kohberger's role model in a way. So there's this really weird feature of the story that nobody is entirely sure about. I didn't talk much about it because there's so much uncertainty. He manipulated digitally, you know, wiped clean all of his footprints to a remarkable extent. The experts were kind of impressed with his ability. One of the things they wonder about, there was this character, I forget the title, something Roger, like Pirate Roger or somebody Roger, on the internet on one of these incel forums that didn't identify with a human picture. It had a cartoon drawing, but it looks exactly like Kohberger, and talked exactly the way he did.
Wow.
And I don't know how they associated him with this particular individual and this particular site, but all connections have been erased. It's impossible to tell. But it was, you know, in honor of Elliot Rogers, and just all kinds of creepy stuff there that connect him to the world of incels.
It looks like an incel. I mean, he really does.
I read a book a couple of years ago. I prepared it to cover on my channel for my Saturday book, and I have put it off for a couple of years. It's called Men Who Hate Women.
Oh, right.
And what made me stop and not cover it is that the author had to go into hiding.
Wow.
And a lot of people associated with it have suffered the ramifications publicly of the hostility and the misogyny. And, you know, I'm too old to deal with that. So
just put a hex on them.
I don't practice black magic.
I just saying.
Yeah, it's just a scary world out there for young women. And now there's this added component of this global internet where the misogyny can collect, you know, it's awful.
Right. Yeah.
So I did cards. Are we done talking about?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Talking in a foreign language, I haven't understood a
sure,
word.
Sure. Yeah.
That always cracks me up. I feel like I'm in another country and people are speaking to me in their native tongue, and I'm just being.
It is another language.
It is, yeah. It is. But that's kind of the fun of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So I quickly did cards on him this morning, and it's interesting. We talked a little bit about it. The overall impression that I got was that this life now was, and this sounds trite, is a karmic opportunity that he failed miserably.
Yes, I agree.
So at the heart, which is like the core meaning of this incarnation, I got the Five of Swords reversed. I wrote all my little notes down, so I am paying attention. The Five of Swords reversed, crossed by the Six of Pentacles. This was intended karmically to be a humbling experience, but
yes.
it turned out to be far more in reality of a humbling experience, because it cut the knees out from under him, almost literally. He was so grandiose. He is so grandiose.
Too bad that these young women who had nothing to do with anything and totally, you know, that he had to actually kill people.
Well, this also can mean to let go of the desire to be correct, to be right, to win all the time.
Right, right.
And also, it's kind of a lesson in you can't always be the top person. So
right. He wasn't even close to the top person.
Huge lesson in humility. But here's a question for you, Denise. This is something that I think about a lot. If you're born with the physiological propensity to be a psychopath, are you ever able to meet the challenges of your karmic purpose?
In someone like, you know, I think it depends how far down the road you are, right? If you're someone who's like, there are definitely cases, like I was just looking at because I watched that documentary called Queen of the Serial Killers about Eileen Wuornos, for example.
Oh, I haven't watched it because I know the story, you know, and she's just,
yeah, but it's interesting. Well, I know the story too, but what was interesting about it was the trial itself, and then there's a confession later I've never seen before, where she talks before, you know, and she kind of changes her story pretty radically.
Oh, she confessed?
She confessed.
Because she did not confess for a very long time.
Yeah, right before she was put to death, she confessed that she had conflated a lot of the stuff, that she had indeed been raped like 300 times and gang rapes and all that. But the men that she murdered did not actually rape her, and that she basically saw them all as rapists. And that's sort of, and the relationship between her and that woman, I think, triggered her, you know, going into this really more intensive kind of psychopathic side of her personality. But also, there was interesting information about how she claimed that the first guy raped her and did all these horrible things to her that she was very specific about. And then later it came out in this documentary that the fucker who prosecuted her, which is a right-wing Christian, anti-female, you know, women who of the night kind of thing, you know, you know, just a typical right-wing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
he's lest you be judged, right?
Yeah, just a real douchebag. He suppressed information about that guy, where he had actually been accused of rape and had gone into the mental health system and said that he would do it again and he wouldn't be able to stop himself. And he asked to, like, I mean, so there was all this information about this guy having had a history of violent crime against women, that she was the first murder, you know. So you know, it bolstered her case, but it wasn't allowed into evidence. And basically he was buddies with the judge, and they allowed all the other, you know, she wasn't indicted on any. I mean, this was supposed to be about one murder, and they brought in all of the other cases.
But how does that connect to the inevitability that you're going to make all the wrong choices if you're physiologically
okay, that's good. Back to that point. So in her case, you can look at her natal chart and go, the possibility is that she's probably not a psychopath. She's probably a sociopath. Her childhood pushed her down that path.
Terrible.
Yeah, she wasn't a psychopath. Now you look at someone else, like, who has a nodal conjunction, and one nodal conjunction is generally more about having to face some kind of fear or some kind of past life issue. It's not going to necessarily push you down the path of being a murderer unless you really go deep into that fear or those negative karmic things. When you get to somebody like Kohberger, who's got so much stuff around the nodes, the resistance to that urge to do something destructive is so and dark, and it's so enmeshed with the darkness that he's done it in multiple lifetimes. This is not the first rodeo. This is like a pattern of behavior in many lifetimes that is much harder to break, right? So for him to be able to break out of that obsessive desire to destroy other people would have required him to have early intervention at a very young age by parents who were really paying attention and put him in some kind of mental health facility. Maybe he could have avoided some of this. Maybe he could have been retrained out of that obsessive stuff. I don't know. But what I'm saying is the more you do some kind of behavior, the more entrenched it is as a habit, the harder it is to break. And that shows up in the natal chart. And if
so you're
going
reincarnated with this burden,
yeah,
and impaired in the material world to address the spiritual burden. That seems unfair. I don't know why.
Well, it's not, because think about it as a road you walk, right? So say you're walking, you know, every person has a path, and we all have free will. You can choose darkness or you can choose light. And every choice you make is a choice of you're going to be bad or you're going to be good. You know, are you going to be compassionate or are you going to be hateful or are you going to whatever? Nobody's perfect, and we all make mistakes, and we all kind of choose, you know, sometimes to do bad things.
Well, speak for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you might say a white lie trying to not hurt someone's feelings, but you could say, well, maybe you shouldn't have done that. That's sort of morally ambiguous. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, you know, but I don't really think that's choosing to be a bad person. But, you know, you might make a choice. You might be like a more standard thing that a lot of people, they might marry the wrong person. And instead of addressing the marriage, they just decide to, like, you know, have an affair with someone. And that may not be on purpose to hurt that person. Maybe it's just self-centered, but that's probably not the best choice. But it's not like you're killing people, right?
Or well, you could choose to run for political office so that you could grift.
Or you choose to, yes. Or, you know, you make these choices on how, and you could be a grifter, you could take advantage of people, you can prey on people. And the more you do that, the more you walk down that road, oh boy, hey, it's working for me. I'm making all this money. I'm doing whatever I want. I'm winning here. Then you walk further and further down the dark road. And by the time you're so far down the path, you may not even realize how far you're down the path you are, but you come in with that karma that you have accumulated from making all these collection of bad decisions. You come back and then you're starting where you came off of, if that makes sense. So if you're walking on the good road, you come in with that karma or dharma, right? So you see it in like the Dalai Lama's chart that he's got nodal conjunctions in his many lifetimes, but he's bringing with him good dharma. He's bringing all the collection of the good things he's done into this lifetime. And it's also hard to be the Dalai Lama. I mean, you're taken away from your family when you're like 3 years old.
Oh, it's
and
terrible. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of troubling things about it. That would also be nodal conjunction things, but the way he's using it is in a positive way. But so you don't start out with a fresh slate. You basically start where you left off, with a new player character. You know, like if you're going to do a video game situation, you know, you get through a game or a lifetime, and all of the stuff that you've done so far is still collected in your spirit, your soul. And when you come back in, you have all that stuff active, but now you're in a different kind of personality, a slightly different body.
Is that how video games work?
Video games work like so if you're playing like a character game, you pick a character and it has certain powers and abilities, right? And then you know, you do all the hurdle, all the stuff. Maybe you win or lose or whatever. And then when you restart, you're still the same person.
Oh, I didn't know.
No. You know, you're playing the game. So the metaphor is like if you're playing a video game, your soul, you're sitting there pretending to be this character, right? Think about it as a metaphor for your soul is really controlling your body, your spirit, right?
No, I understand the spiritual part. I just am not familiar with video games.
Video games,
I was oh, you carry forward the same.
No, you don't. Not in a video game, but
okay.
The metaphor being that you change characters. You change. You're still playing this, but but you might pick different strengths and weaknesses in another lifetime. But you're still the same person playing that other character. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And that's kind of how it works, I think, with karma and dharma. So you may not remember everything you did, but some part of you remembers what you did, and you're still active from that place where you were when you left off last time. If that makes sense.
Oh my God. Yeah. I actually, I'm personalizing this and I'm not happy. Okay. Let's talk.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Let's talk about his card in his atmosphere. You're going to love this. The Knight of Swords, the quintessential card for OCD. I didn't know that. I looked it up.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it
anxiety.
Seems apparent how this would, reflect his situation, the pain and suffering he caused. He suffered terribly from anxiety.
And that's anxiety card.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. I didn't know what to expect when I did this, and I thought it was fascinating. And then at the foundation, we get the 8 of Pentacles reversed. So here's a guy who has found his path in life through academic excellence, professional excellence, and it all just goes to, he ruins it and takes the foundation out from under what little foundation.
Can I ask you a question? How smart really was he, though? I mean,
he was really smart. Several professors said he was the smartest student they ever had.
Okay.
And he was assigned to Catherine Ramsland, who's the expert. She's the one she's.
How good of a program is that program that he was in?
It's good. It's well known. It's a good program.
Is it one of the best in the country, or?
I think so. It's one of the few in the country. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very competitive to get in. He did great in his master's program. His mentor was a woman who has literally written the book on Dennis Rader.
Oh God.
Yeah. BTK. Yeah.
Okay, it's evil.
She's written 65 books.
Okay. Right.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did I get everything? The other interesting interpretation of this is as kind of a metaphysical warning to him, a spiritual warning to reevaluate. This is hilarious. Reevaluate your approach.
Wow.
But, taking it in a broader sense that the lesson to be learned in this lifetime, now's your opportunity to reevaluate, start over, and went nowhere. So then in his recent past, we get the Sun reversed. And so you're talking about apparently a successful path completely ended by this terrible action that he.
I'm wondering too if maybe he didn't feel like he was very successful. I mean, if he was quite secure,
he had this weird combination of grandiosity and superiority and arrogance.
Right. Oh, that's great.
But in his heart, he was very insecure and uncertain. Right. But it was always everybody else's fault.
Right.
Yeah.
Typical kind of psychopathic kind of.
This will come as no surprise to anybody. Judgment.
Wow.
I don't need to say anything. He, was given the opportunity and was found.
It's interesting how quickly he was caught, and the nodal stuff, and the fact that, like in other situations where you see serial killers, how they seem to get away with it for a long time, and Kohberger did not. And I think that's partially like what you're saying is sort of, he was in the heart of darkness, right? He's sort of like, he'd walked in this path, and some part of him, like with that Uranus opposition, jumped into it and immediately caught with that stuff there. So maybe on some level, he is trying to save himself, like spiritually, like he knew he was going to get, like maybe the obsessive, maybe the spirit was like, yeah, do it at this really horrible time, so you're going to get caught immediately. You know what I mean?
And learn your lesson
And
in
learn
the
your lesson.
process of being caught. But also, he was very arrogant
Oh
and
yeah,
impulsive, and so he
impulsive.
just
Yes,
jumped into it
it jumped into it.
because he was under a lot of stress. A lot,
Yes,
that's
that's right.
one thing that they
Yeah,
say, that a lot of repeat offenders will respond to the stress in their personal life.
yeah. You know what was also happening at the time of the murders was a yod to Mars in the seventh house. So what that means is he had everything focused on this aggressive act, and it was like we call it the finger of God in astrology, which means something out of his control. He didn't feel like he could control himself. So I mean, if he had waited or done it at a different time,
He might have been more
gotten away with
successful.
it. Yeah.
Well, it's weird. I forgot to mention this, and this creeped me out really badly. So he did a lot of stuff alone because, of course, nobody could stand being around him.
Yeah.
One of the things he did is he hiked in the mountains where Ted Bundy dumped his victims, and he took selfies. Like,
wow.
People recognized, oh my God, do you know what that spot is? That's where so-and-so's body was found. And he managed to frame one of these pictures very tellingly. There was a rock behind him, a boulder, and it had graffiti. And one of the things in the graffiti was a word, but he cut the word off in the framing of the photograph so that it said slut.
Wow.
Then he went home after the crime, took a shower, and then took a selfie in the bathroom mirror. He was dressed, but he's like this in the bathroom mirror, and his hand is all bandaged.
What the fuck? What does that mean?
Well, he's all proud of himself. He killed these girls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was after he killed them. I see.
He had this look of jubilation.
When was, I mean, I know this is weird, but when was Bundy actually executed? Was it before Kohberger was born? Maybe not, because he was born in 94.
I think so. I think he was executed in the late 80s.
Okay, let me see. Bundy. Because I mean, 1989. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm almost wondering if Kohberger is a reincarnation of Ted Bundy. Like, I kind of wonder, because it's like he's picking up where he left off. But the universe didn't let him get away with it this time. Like, you're gonna fucking deal with this. You're gonna get caught. You're gonna spend your life in prison. Yeah. I mean, I personally don't think that they should. And this is my argument against the death penalty. You should let people live out their life and think about what they did and really ruminate and kind of process how evil and horrible they're. You kill them, and then you basically just restarting, and they're gonna come back doing the same shit they just did.
Well, John Fugelsang, who's very funny and quite on the money, said something to the effect of, we kill people to prove to them that killing people is wrong. So they're, it is a circular logic that makes no sense. Yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
Anyway, did I show you this already? No, I don't think I did. No, so this card just represents himself. So you get this smug guy who's all self-satisfied, reversed. And why is his sense of self completely overturned? It's overturned by the institutions. They con him, and I think this is significant. It's not just a reflection of what happened. It's a reflection of his purpose. That's the feeling I got about all of this, all of it. And so the hopes and fears I thought was really interesting. Maybe I tend to read a lot into these cards, but it's a gut intuitive thing. So I see this card, the Queen of Cups. Yeah. His downfall was something a woman hid. His female victim literally hid the DNA on the knife sheath under her body at the crime scene.
How did she do that?
It accidentally just ended up under her body. And
Wow.
when he left, he didn't see it, and he left
I
without
couldn't
it.
find it. I see.
Correct. I
Wow.
thought, oh wow, that it gave me chills when I saw that card, because it's about hidden secrets, and so
Right.
sure his life is full of them, and that's no surprise, but there's a subtlety to the interpretation that his big downfall was a woman who hid something. I
Right.
just
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
ultimately the outcome, very interesting. The Three of Wands, his future, it was reversed. So his future completely stopped
Wiped
by
away.
death.
Wow.
Can't make that up.
Well,
I mean, literally.
so he
and
took, yeah, that's the
figuratively.
end of everything. Yeah. I'm personally glad that he is not going to get the death penalty, because, you know, he's young and he's going to be in prison for
a very
another
long
50, 60 years. And he's going to every fucking day have to worry about being raped by some guy who's bigger than him. He's going to have to worry about, like, you know, dealing with really violent people around him constantly.
I have a funny feeling that he may not be around for a whole long time. I think
He might kill himself.
No, I think he might become
What do you else might kill him?
I don't know. I don't
That's
know why
what
I
happened to
feel that
Dahmer.
way.
That's what happened to Dahmer.
Yeah, that's what happened to
Yeah,
Dahmer.
they put him in.
And
That happens with people like him. Yeah,
he's reviled. He's just caused nothing but animosity. They have to have him in solitary. He endlessly complains about the accommodations.
Right.
So
he seems like that type. Yeah.
So I wanted to look at his relationship with his mother. Now, it's interesting what you had to say about him not being a sociopath, which means that his criminality
doesn't come from his parents' behavior.
Well, nurture, you know,
right,
versus psychopathy, which is something that you are born, you bring with you. Right. And from a spiritual sense, it's a karmic debt that you carry with you, right? So it's not that his parents created the monster, but his relationship with his parents is a reflection of the monster that he always was. So I wanted to find out about this relationship with his mother, because people like to blame that relationship. I didn't have that feeling. I felt like his parents were held hostage to him.
Yes, absolutely. They didn't know how to, I mean, looking at his chart, his parents were trying to just support him and didn't really know how to handle him.
Correct.
And that was part of why it fed into his insanity, but it's not really their fault. They were trying to be good parents, but they didn't really know how to deal with it. They didn't know how to do it.
There was no way to be a good parent to somebody that flawed. And one of the forensic psychiatrists said something really interesting, predicting that you are going to eventually see, if he lasts, you're going to see him reestablish a letter writing relationship with his psychologist sister. And we may get more of what makes him tick, because he's going to need the attention and he's going to reach out to her. So that's the prediction. So I wanted to look at this relationship with his mother, and I did a few Lenormand cards, a little different from tarot, a little bit more specific, right? So the first card I get is the card for anxiety and obsession.
Yeah, right. Nice.
I went, okay, that makes sense. And then right next to it, causing problems. This is obstacles. So this is the huge obstacle in his life. Then, my specific question in mind was his relationship with his mother. I get the loyal mother.
Yeah.
The doctor mother. She wasn't a doctor, but the healer mother. The mother who their relationship was this sense of slavish lapdog to him.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think that the whole thing, this is where, in my opinion, you know, psychology has a purpose and a place and everything, and people do have trauma, but trying to blame this on his parents they're not at fault at all.
Well, it's simplistic.
It's very simplistic. And I think in the case of this, like, I mean, anybody, if you don't have the eyes to see that your kid's a psychopath, which I'm sure no normal person would see.
Nobody wants to acknowledge that. No, of course
you're not going to think your kid is a psychopath. I mean, you're going to try to make excuses. Well, they're obsessive, they're anxious, they don't fit in, poor, they're bullied or whatever.
Bullied was a big one. Yeah.
I mean, okay. And then you try to support them and make them feel better about themselves. That's what a normal person would do under the circumstances, their kid, not being liked and being kind of a weirdo and a creep and people not liking them. You're not gonna, what are you supposed to do with that? I mean, that's not the parents' fault that they tried to be supportive of him. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, people go to school for a very, very long time to become experts in the field. And even they have trouble dealing with people that are in this situation, this flaw. Yeah, how do you expect ordinary parents
to deal with it?
That's my excuse anyway.
Well, I just don't think they're going to know what to do. And I mean, unless we test children early on for behavioral issues or potential psychopathy and we can intervene, I don't think the parents are like, you test kids for learning disabilities, for autism, for ADHD, and then you intervene and help them to get over those things. But what about psychopathy? I mean, how do you redirect them and help the parents support a different direction so they don't end up using that energy negatively? Because there are studies that show that it can be redirected in early childhood, and into teenagers.
There's that school that they had in Michigan or Wisconsin where they got the boys really young.
And it's been successful. It's, I mean,
I'm eager to see what the long-term results are.
Right. We'll see. But at least there's hope.
So this guy's mother was almost kind of dependent on her relationship with him.
Well, I would say that she probably did not see him clearly with that moon in Cancer, probably doted on him, was very unconditional, and she may have been manipulative as well with the moon in Cancer and trying to, and
all I can say is when my kids went away to college, I wasn't crying every night.
Wow.
I was like, phew.
Right. Yeah. I would say the parents were very enmeshed with him. Enmeshed.
Yeah. I think a healthier attitude would be, yes, you miss them and, you can feel a bit nostalgic about the good time. You tend to forget any difficulties you might have had. And we're talking about normal people now. We're not talking about psychopaths. And then an ordinary parent-child relationship evolves into something more mature and adult. But for a parent to cry day after day after day that their 28-year-old son has gone to school, it's mind-boggling.
Well, I mean, I don't know where the moon falls, but if there's somebody theorized that he had a 6 a.m. birth, that would put his moon in the 7th house. The mother might have made him her partner, partnerified him is what I call it. Where she might have seen him as like a second husband or something like that. And that would make sense. Maybe she was overly focused on him.
Well, I forgot to mention, I mentioned it in my video that I did, but I didn't have it in my mind today that every single day of his life, every day, he woke up and picked up the phone and called his mother and father. And before he went to bed at night, they were the last people he called. The morning of the murder, like after the fact of the murders, he was on the phone off and on with his mother all day for 60 minutes, 90 minutes.
Well, that's the crazy thing about his natal chart is that he has a great relationship with his parents. I mean, in his natal chart, his parents are not the problem. And you can say whatever you want to say, but there's no abuse from his parents. They're supportive. They love him. They're very supportive of him. They feed him.
His father did the right thing. He found out he'd stolen a car. He turned him in,
And his parents are not the problem. He's the problem. And anybody who tries to pin it on them is totally misguided because the parents are not the problem. And this is something that, I mean, yes, there are people like, Eileen Wuornos, when you look at her situation, she is so victimized and she doesn't have a psychopathic chart. She's got a lot of real intense victim chart,
trauma,
and trauma chart. And
she was living in the woods outside the house
when she was like 14
or 13.
Yeah, right.
More than that.
And she had somebody raped her and she got pregnant and had a baby. I mean, she was just constantly victimized, traumatized, and that drove her into insanity. And that's a very different thing. And that is a sociopath, not a psychopath.
Correct.
So, I mean, it's not her parents' fault. And there is not everybody who's a psychopath who does these horrible things comes from terrible families. It's just the way it is. I mean, there's sometimes people like this who are just really
well.
ill,
Look at his siblings.
spiritually.
His siblings are apparently fine. His
Right.
sister very successfully got her doctorate in psychology.
Right.
I misspeak. I'm not certain. She might be a master's in psychology, but she got her license as a clinical psychologist.
Well, you have to get to become a clinical psychologist. You have to have a doctorate's degree to be.
Oh, do
clinical.
you?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Not an MD, but just
no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
yeah.
PhD.
But the fact is that she's not out there killing people.
No, and I mean, yeah. So I mean, same with I don't like Dahmer. I mean, he had some he showed signs of being very disturbed very early on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He had
His parents didn't help though. I would
No,
say
his parents were the problem. And his
yeah.
his parents were, his mother's a total narcissist. And I think that the neglect of dealing with whatever mental health issue he had it was very obvious to everyone. It was not like this guy who could hide it. Dahmer was very clearly had some kind of
psychosis. Used to sit and dissect small animals.
That's disgusting.
Come on, that's not
I know.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
That is, to me, that case, his parents played a role, but he also grew up in a middle-class neighborhood. He knew what he was doing was wrong, and he kind of had this internal fight with himself about it. But there was something biochemical, I think, in Dahmer's head.
Well, he was drinking to the point of unconsciousness in high school, and his parents got divorced,
and they just left him.
We should probably do Dahmer, but he grosses me out because he's cooking body parts, and I
know it's disgusting, but it is one of those things where you go, they were just so neglectful, and the neglect. She left him there. Yes, and that's his first murder. I mean, I think, and the murders, from what I understand, the motivation was to keep the people because he felt abandoned and like nobody was really there for him.
Possession of the body, literally.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, weird. It is very fucking weird.
Have you been watching the show about? I'm sorry. Have you been watching the show about John Wayne Gacy?
No.
I felt the same way because it's just been done. Right? Well,
not just that.
A new it's fictionalized in the sense that it's not a documentary. It's a reenactment.
Right. Yeah.
And it has an interesting approach. It takes each victim. Each episode is named for a different victim.
Well, that's more interesting because I had a friend back at CalArts. He was another CalArts student who I don't know why he chose to do this, but you remember Gacy used to make those crazy clown paintings and paintings of Snow White and shit.
I can't.
Can't. Well, the weird thing is Gacy was kind of like in the hunting ground, kind of where I was living at the time, not far. Like there was a movie theater that intersected the area where he would have been hunting.
Have you ever given any thought or concern to the fact that you seem to attract a serial killer?
I don't. No, I'm like a hound dog. If you're around me, I found that the pattern is if I cross the current with something like that, I pick up on it, and I don't. And that's the thing I've noticed. So I had these nightmares all the time about Snow White jumping off the screen and stabbing people and stuff like that. At that time, I could never figure it out. And maybe there's other metaphors for that too. But when I saw John Wayne Gacy's paintings of fucking Snow White and all that, I was like, oh my God, because I was getting all kinds of really disturbing stuff at that time, and I couldn't figure out why. And that it was always at this movie theater that this happened, and the movie theater was actually in his hunting area. So I thought, you know what? I think I was picking up as a little kid stuff that was going on in that environment because he was like in Morton Grove and right around where I was living at the time. I'm sure I must have crossed one of his scent lines and picked up on it. But my friend, and I wasn't close friends with him, but I knew him. He was part of a group of other people I knew. He was like talking to Gacy all the time, while he was in prison, getting his art and brokering it and reselling it. Don't ask me why. And he's like, I'm like, well, what was that like? I'm like, what was that like dealing with him? He's such a psycho. And he's like, well, he's really fucking boring. That's what he said. He goes, it's the most boring person you could ever. All he does is talk about totally banal things, and he babbles on and on and on. He's like, I really dread having to talk to him. Like,
well, they do a good job of portraying Gacy in this special.
And he is really banal. If you try to listen to him, he's just banal.
Well, he talks all the time about himself. Huge narcissist. He's talking all the time about, oh, I know so-and-so the alderman, and I know the mayor, and I've been to the party, and I did, that kind of thing.
That's what he was like. He was like talking to like the most boring narcissist in the world. And I was like, that's a weird way to describe a serial killer, as completely boring and banal. And I think that's maybe how he managed to sort of slip past people, because he's so self-absorbed and banal. He doesn't really come across as being creepy.
I don't remember for a fact. I'm in about the second or third video in the story of this guy, and it's been a long time since I've thought about him at all. But apparently he confessed.
Oh, really?
And I think so. I think that's what they're leading up to. Like I said, I
don't know. Yeah.
I think that he starts saying to the cops, and that his lawyer is losing his mind. He says to the cop, well, no, I want to talk. I can tell you all kinds of things. And it was like from a bragging.
Yeah, right.
Kind of thing. Yes. Wait to hear what I did. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense, especially if he was already on death row. Then he would just get more attention.
This is before he was even
charged. Oh, okay. Yeah, Yeah.
They're in his house digging bodies out of his crawl
space. I mean, how can you really say I didn't do that?
Well, he was trying.
Right. I mean, come on. Somebody was coming in here when I didn't know. Yeah, and it smells like dead bodies. I mean, give me a break.
Insane. I know. It's
psycho. So fucking gross.
So many crazy people, so little time. So do we have any idea? I think we kind of have an idea who we want to talk about next.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I think we should do that.
And I think it's important to just reiterate, we're not psychiatrists, we're not psychological professionals, we just have opinions. We just solve crimes from our armchairs. It's just an interest, right?
Yeah, in my case, I've actually worked on a criminal case.
Oh, well, okay, John Wayne Gacy.
And not, as a psychic, but not as an astrologer, as a psychic.
Yeah.
And a couple times I've done that, but not, just randomly. Yeah.
I grew up in
a few times, actually.
Santa Barbara. Yeah. And do you remember? Well, stupid question. You do remember when the Manson murders hit the news, right?
Well, I wasn't born yet, I don't think. Maybe.
Oh, God.
No, I was a little baby. I was like born in 67. So I was like a little tiny kid. So I don't.
Okay. So
I don't remember.
I was babysitting one night when it happened. And
I was
the next night that the La Biancas were murdered, I was babysitting somebody else. And I was losing my mind.
You must be scared.
I was terrified because random, crazy killers roaming Southern California.
Sure.
And I remember saying something to somebody, is this really scary? And they said, oh, well, it happened in LA. You don't need to worry about it, because we're about an hour or so north of LA. Well, come to find out, and do you remember the book I was telling you about before we started to record?
No, that's okay.
About the author?
Yeah, okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the woman who wrote the book, her parents were kind of hippies, and
wasn't that ranch kind of close to Santa Barbara? The ranch
it was more
the
Spawn Ranch was like the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, Chatsworth, but that's actually about an hour from Santa Barbara. It's a little bit closer. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm freaking out kind of quietly, thinking, oh my God, the killer is somewhere here in town. Come to find out later, They were in Santa Barbara.
I'm sure. I wouldn't be
They
surprised.
were driving around, stopping at the street lights, at the red light, and trying to decide would they kill the people in the car next to them. You know,
Wow.
trolling like sharks. They were camping on the beach. The author of the book I told you about camped on the beach with the Manson family, and her
Wow.
parents were so skeeved out, but because they were camping and they showed up.
Wow.
And her parents were so freaked out that in the middle of the night they sneaked away.
That's smart.
Charlie Manson was trying to insinuate himself. He had his eyeballs on her.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, she wasn't that much younger than the girl that he impregnated, who was 14.
Right.
And he was trying to get into their camper, and you know.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, he was collecting sex objects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really gross. But
Yeah,
we'll talk about that's for another video.
that's another day. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the story of this lunatic Bryan Kohberger. This is a very good book, and like I said, it was written kind of early in the game before the whole
more evidence.
but it's still good. It's still really interesting, and it gives you a sense of place, because he does talk. I kind of skipped it here, but he does talk quite a bit about Moscow, Idaho, and just Idaho in general, and
right.
The juxtaposition of the people in the state who are very conservative, and then this school that's considered the best party school in the state. You know? So,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think our job here is done.
I think so.
Another case solved. Okay. We'll be back. We're trying to be more regular about this, so I think we might have fallen into a pattern here where we've solved that problem. So
I think so. I'm finally not having so many problems. Knock on wood.
Well, I think dividing up some of it and presenting it separately takes some of the burden off of your schedule too.
Yeah,
your schedule is crazy.
I would not be adverse to looking into things that are happening if something comes up and trying to speculate on that.
Oh, you mean something new? Like a new crime? Oh, yeah, I can hardly wait.
Yeah, that might be kind of an interesting take to try to see if we can give any insight into a case through astrology and cards.
I'll keep my eye open on the True Crime Network.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if we can get any. I think it's better not to be top loaded with it too much, but there's sparse information and try to
Yes, I agree. And
especially with new things.
People appreciate the background. So
yeah, but like for example, this one thing, the first time I worked on this murder case, it's a long story, but anyway, this I saw something flash on the news, and then all of a sudden I had all this spirit activity, and the girl actually broke my computer. She was trying so hard to get me to, so I put it out on the internet.
Yeah,
that I would be open to help the family, and then they contacted me, and they contacted me through her friends who were reading my blog, which I had no idea. They read some of her friends read my blog, which is probably why she reached out to me. So I talked to her friends, and I knew immediately what I knew immediately from what the real deal was. But her friends were just completely confusing me. They're like, "Oh, I think it's this guy. Oh, I think it's that guy." And they started calling, and I'm like, I don't think it's any of those people, but they all wanted to give me their theories. And if anything, if I hadn't been so sure, and I could have been thrown off the track. You know what I'm saying? If I hadn't been so sure.
Well, I think you know what that reminds me of is that Murdoch case. Are you familiar with that?
No.
The Murdoch case? Okay, so a couple of years ago, I don't remember exactly when it first hit the news. There's this sort of, in the back end of the paper, there's a small article about a guy who was shot on this country road, and it's a real weird case, right?
I remember that. Yes,
I
yes.
read this
very
article,
weird.
and I said to my husband, listen to this. So I read him the little blurb, and I said, this is BS. This guy is up to his neck in crime. And, you know, my husband, as he always does, yes, dear, rolled his eyes. That was
Right,
the end of it. So I'm enjoying very much all the specials and everything, telling him, I told you so. I told you
right.
so.
Yeah,
He
you
killed
knew
5
instantly.
people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I know, right. I know that case that you're talking about. Yeah, it's just like
Not
truth
only
unraveling.
was he responsible, or his very troubled children, for murders or accidental deaths that shouldn't happen because they were irresponsible. His family goes back really far in that community. Always big landowners, always very wealthy and in
Right.
law. And dare I say it, just allegedly, I'm guessing big landowners with a lot
Yeah,
of money
right.
in the
No,
South,
you know.
plantation
Yeah, of
owners.
course.
I'm willing to bet any money. And so
Yeah.
we're seeing the wages of generational sin here.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
fun to judge. Okay, we're done. Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody, for watching. I'll put the lid on it here and we'll take off and look for yet another killer. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Let us know if there's something you'd like us to look into. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Interesting.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, we, you know, we try, but
yeah, there's, you know, there's too many to choose from.
yes, it's an embarrassment of riches.
Yes, it's too much.
Thank you, Denise. Slán go
Thank you,
fóill.
Helen. Bye.